you're limit testing, you might as well like just stand there and see what happens.
Ah, and another thing I hate about the build, the max life is fucking awful.
This DPS
I'm
is
sitting.
rough.
I'm sitting. Ah! Shit, boy. Oh, that's because I'm sitting on that thing. Duh, dummy. Nope, no, I can't take that. Ah!
We'll never know.
No, you definitely can't.
Oh no, there's 110% I can't.
Most fucking builds can't. Like even the super tanky builds that are like standing in shaper beams. That move's a little scary.
All right, we're sitting here and we're channeling. Oh my god!
Yeah,
Nope.
You could take one.
Not tanky. We are officially not tanky at all.
What are you talking about? You ate one.
No, dude. No. If I gotta get more than one, dog.
Yeah, I think
You need a channel. You're losing life.
The only way I think you can, realistically sit there and tank them, like on this build, you'd have to like get your max fire res up.
Oh, 100%.
Well, try taking one without Regis fire on. It's about half your health. Yeah, like I think if you had like 85, 85 fire res, like you could probably tank it standing still.
Oh, I'm a god gamer. Yeah, I know. Alright. He's dying. Am I like slow casting or I don't know. I feel like I'm doing this. Please die. How to do y'all tables here. So I wanted to try a build that nobody really plays. And that's partly because it's channeling, and channeling is just it's a little bit awkward. Right? I think we can all agree with that in PoE. But nonetheless, the skill is like totally non-meta. And I had a really interesting idea running Tri-Ailment Reflect with the Fulcrum staff and then scaling Fizz as Fire, Lightning, Cold. And essentially see where we landed, scaling our ailment duration that's reflected onto us. Overall, the build is fun, but it really kind of fell short. Not only in terms of what I was able to inch out in DPS, but also trying to inch out in defenses as well. I found that if I went too heavily into clusters, I had no defense. And I was still trying to keep somewhat of a budget on this. So, I mean, we got 10, 15 divines on this. And it does the job. Don't get me wrong. You can kill all the bosses. But it just feels off. We have a few issues with mana in regards to certain shrine effects, like specifically the move speed shrine and spell echo shrine. Interestingly to note, spell echo does not support channeling skills. However, the spell echo shrine effect does. Now we have quite a bit of a cast speed on this. So without that shrine effect, we get anywhere between 20 to 22 orbs with the Helm enchant. But with that spell echo shrine effect, we get almost 60 orbs in an incredible amount of time. Scaling AoE is definitely one of the better ways to go so that your orbs can kind of constantly be hitting and other orbs will be double dipping on the hit and you'll have overlap and it's all very nice. we had there's some issues with ailment stuff. We are having the build ended up having issues not keeping the uptime, but keeping the duration of the ailments that are self-inflicted to be long. And as it stands, we ended up going with a Skin of the Lords with Leash Shade, and I was hoping that that would fix that, but indeed it did not. So I'm assuming that ailments that are indeed self-inflicted, or excuse me, reflected, do not get the benefit of increased duration. At least that's what I've gathered. I could never make it work. And so when you're mapping, there's like, when you're fighting, you're going. And then for a little bit after, you're going. And then you just kind of like fall short. Right? And we try to help that with the onslaught on kill. But the mapping experience, you know, because in my head, the idea of self-reflecting Tri-Ailment was to be zoom, zoom. What ended up happening in actuality was like zoom, slow, still slow, really insane zoom when you get the right shrine effect. And it really is a roller coaster of back and forth within maps. The overall DPS with clusters could be probably tripled from where we're at right now, but you're going to lose a lot of defenses unless you are willing to invest, you know, 35, 40 div and melding of the flesh and all that good stuff. As it stands, we're sitting around 4 mil DPS. Pretty tanky, fairly tanky. You still got to move out of stuff. You still got to play smart. But if you need to take some hits, you can, you can absolutely take some hits. Not as tanky as the POB made it out to be. It's not as tanky as I would like it to be. But for the amount that we have invested, I'm pretty happy. So, that's it. You guys saw some footage. Let's move over to the gear. Okay, so here we are on the character, level 91. We did go the way of elemental overload, because scaling crit was going to be quite the investment, because we're having to get our mana issue solved. Got to get enough cast speed. Got to get enough HP. Max live. Got to get AOE. And armor, and Fizz is Ellie. And so I decided we're just going to 86 the crit. This is essentially what the tree looks like. Almost 50k armor with energized armor. I believe we're immune to corrupted blood via this particular jewel. The good news is that the gear it's relatively cheap, right? The actual gems that we use, not that expensive. I mean, a level 21 Stormburst was like 5 chaos, like a 2120 was super cheap. So everything is based on the Fulcrum. This converts all of your all of your Fizz damage into all three, depending on, what kind of staff you get. And elemental ailments you inflict are reflected. So you get lucky damage, you get Ellie Pin, and you get Fizz's fire, or excuse me, Fizz as a random element. We took heavily into this wheel, grabbing chance for elements, Fizz as lightning, Fizz as fire, all that good stuff. 10% Fizz as extra damage of a random element. Tried to scale as much non-damage element buff as we could to increase our movement speed via, if I could actually pull it up, our Winter Weave, which reverses the effect of chill. So every time we chill ourselves, that chill is reversed and we zoom, right? And to become unaffected by shock, we ran Replica's Winter Heart. with the armor node so that we can get some endurance charges to help our like kind of standstill channel gameplay. We're running Stormburst, Consecrated Effect, Infused Channeling, Increased Duration, added lightning damage, and added fire. Really just like going full into Fizz as Ellie support. And so as you can see, we're dealing cold, we're dealing lightning, bunch of fire, and we increase its duration. I think we're almost at 3 seconds. It's kind of the way Stormburst works is if you're only doing like it releases a damage portion every 0.4 seconds. So if you're not raising the duration by intervals of 0.4, you're going to be doing extra damage. So that's why this scales really well with duration, right? More duration, more cast speed equals more orbs, which equals more explosions, which equals more damage, just as a general rule of thumb for this particular skill. I was testing Sigil of Power. We have the mana for it. This build doesn't particularly make great use of added damage, but I was kind of struggling what to run because we had some extra slots open. So I was like, fuck it, let's just run Sigil of Power. And, you know, so far, I mean, it kind of works out well. I mean, it's not a ton of damage, but it's a little bit extra. Obviously, we're running Ellie Weakness because we are Tri-Ellie right now. And then in our chest, I couldn't find the Skin of the Lords with this link setup, which was unfortunate, especially one with Leash Shade. And I didn't have a ton of currency left over to spend on Tainted Chromies. But we are running an Enlightened. You can run this without an Enlightened. I just went ahead and did it. So we run Herald of Ash, Determination, Clarity, Arctic Armor, Vitality, Defiance Banner, and and that's it. So those are our auras. We have quite a few of them. We have a little bit of aura effect, not a ton. Flame Dash with Arcane Surge, max level Molten Shell, and then we also run Righteous Fire for the more spell damage. And then we have that just in a real simple rink-a-dink 4-link setup. Our gear, very basic. Just make sure we get the dexterity and the chaos and the res and the armor and the life and all that good stuff. Really, truly nothing super special here. Tried to get a little bit of cast speed. Ideally, the ring, you would want fractured cast speed, and then you would craft accordingly. This helmet, I bought it with the helm enchant, which was like 25 chaos, maybe. And then I just rolled chaos essences until I hit something that I really liked. This is what we ended up with. Same for the belt. I bought this and came with pretty much everything we needed. And then the boots are a little different. This was like, it took me like 3 dev to make these. And what you have to do is you have to get a Shaper or a Warlord's pair of boots, and then you have to have 2 of those influence mods on, like, showing on the pair of boots. And then you take Orb of Dominance, throw it on there, and it will take either one of those mods. It's a 50-50 shot, and it essentially upgrades, right? So I think we had Fizz as fire, as extra fire, and then unaffected by burning ground, and then we got lucky finally, and it just upgraded to unaffected by ignite. That is the only reasonable way, unless you're a chieftain, to make this build happen. So we're unaffected by all 3 ailments. We reflect it to us, and that's the concept of the build. The build is like B- at best, and in a lot of regards, because it is in fact channeling, you know, it's a C+. I mean, the build itself is fun, and I love the idea, but it just didn't come through the way that I had imagined. The final product being a build that can clear the end game. But why would you clear it with this, right? Like, you know, I imagine that if you just went straight chieftain and you went crit and you didn't do any reflecting of ailments, I think the build would not only be tankier, but it would also do more damage. Just solely focusing on a single converted from Fizz, which chieftain obviously would do quite well. You would get the full hundo. It would be a lot easier to scale than trying to scale just your Fizz as any random element, whatever. So that's kind of my take on it. So yeah, that's it. This is the build. I'm fairly happy with it. It's a lot of fun. Stormburst itself is okay. I had an idea. I wanted to try it. It worked, but it's not the best. So we move on to the next one. It was a fun build, but it's time to move on. Next up on the list, we still have a month and like a week before the league shuts down and we get our next league in early April. So I've decided on Kinetic Bolt. So I'm leveling it right now. I don't really know exactly how I want to do it. I've never done anything like Kinetic Bolt before. And to be honest, I have no idea what I'm doing, but we're learning, and I'm hoping that I don't even know if Kinetic Bolt is viable. I don't even know if anyone uses it. I just was looking at the list of skills and was like, hey, this looks kind of cool. So we're gonna give it a little go. So I will keep you guys updated on that front. As always, I appreciate you guys watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, all that good stuff. We're trying to hit 1K. Hopefully we can do that next league, at least in the beginning. And that's it. I'll say farewell to you boys and girls. Have a good rest of the week and weekend, and I will see you in the next build video update. Take care of yourselves.